music, yeah. Jesus music, yeah. When I hear the music.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Girl Time Podcast. I am your host, Lanisha Huggins. This is episode 12, the release of Reoccurring Fear. Just to catch up a little bit, last week, Brianna Thompson and Brianna Green joined me in having a conversation about the release of Fear. And so this week, I have the beautiful, sensational, this woman does everything, and I absolutely love her, Miss Brittany Pickett.
I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, girl. I'm so happy that you're here. I just kind of wanted to jump right in because, like I said, you're one of my favorite people ever, and you're my favorite superwoman. And let me tell y'all about Brittany because she is a wife, a mother of 4. She is a minister in dance. She is a student. You're a teacher.
I'm a financial manager, so
You deal with the kids enough.
do enough.
But she does everything. So I welcome you here. Like I said, I wanted to continue the conversation of the release of fear, but this time kind of talking about conquering fear. And as a mother and a wife, I know that you have a different perspective of what we talked about last week. What are some of your fears?
Well, I think some of my biggest ones have been pretty consistent over my lifetime. The first being confrontation. I hate confrontation. I will avoid it like the plague. I'd rather do anything else. Give me a toothbrush and a toilet and I will clean it versus confronting a situation or a person or a problem. And I think ultimately that's been the underlying issue for a lot of my other fears is just the fear of going up against something, someone, a stigma or a policy or procedure. I'm like, I'm good.
Yes.
So I think that's been the biggest one. I think another one that I've kind of struggled with over time is that balance between wanting to be there for people and then crossing over to people pleasing. You know, I love encouraging people. I love supporting people. I go to everybody's birthday party, graduation, wedding, wedding, everything. I'm there. But then sometimes it's like, do I go because that's who I really am and that's what I want to do, or am I going because I'm afraid that you'll think, oh, well, she don't care about us. Oh, well, she's this. Well, she's that. I can't believe she didn't show up. Well, let me go so they don't think, negative things about me.
Yeah.
But then I'm not being necessarily true to myself. So I would say those have been probably my 2 biggest underlying fears that kind of feed any other small fears that I have, and have really kind of weighed on me heavily over the years.
Yes. And it's really good. So when you say being a people pleaser and being there for people, and as far as the difference in between that, how do you get through, say, you're going to a graduation or you're going to a wedding or you're going to this party and you have those thoughts in your mind, like how do you get through that in order to just actually just go?
I think I err on the side of going no matter what. So I think it's more of I have to stop and think, why am I going? Am I going because I'm just so happy for this person or I just really want to celebrate? Or do I feel the pressure of if I don't go, then what? Yeah. And I can usually tell in the pit of my belly, most women can, we can tell when we're not being true to us.
Right.
And so that's usually kind of my gauge. It's like if I feel nervous about going, then I'm probably don't need to go because I'm going for the wrong reason. But I'm naturally inclined to be people's cheerleader. That's just my life. Yeah. And so typically I err on the side of, somebody joked one time, they said, you are always the first person to RSVP for anything.
And that's true. That is so true.
And part of that, at first I was like, is that a jab? Like, you trying to come for me? Because I don't need that. But some of that was twofold. One is because I'm that ultimate encourager. Like, I may not have the money to buy you the nicest gift, but you'll have my time. Another part is I do have 4 kids. I work full time. I'm a student. I do all these things. So if I don't RSVP now, it ain't going to happen. And then you're going to really think something about me when I try to slip in last minute. So that's usually how I gauge it is how is my gut feeling? Because if I'm getting clammy hands about it, then I need to reevaluate.
Yes. And also being the first one to RSVP is a reminder. I got this thing that I signed up for when they said it, and I know that it's a couple weeks down the line. So that's kind of a reminder when it comes.
Yep, that's so true. It really is. And I mean, more people are getting more specific about their events and things. And I know on the flip side of creating anything, you need to know who's going to be there and
Exactly.
how many. And,
Exactly.
You got to be able to plan accordingly. And I never want to put people in a position where they got to guess.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the one you got to guess about.
Right.
I can about him, but you ain't got to guess about me. I'm on the list with everybody in my household.
Right.
So at least you know where we
That's
stand.
hilarious. How have your perspective changed even before you were married or when you got married and before you had kids? Like, how has that perspective of your fears changed for you?
Well, I think when I was younger, my mom said that at probably about 8 or 9, something in me changed. She said I was a very outgoing kid. I was very confident, which I see that in my daughter.
Oh, yes.
Very spirited, very much confident in who I was. And she said, I don't know what happened. She said, but one day you just were different and you were afraid of everything. And to this day, I still couldn't tell you what happened, if somebody said something, if I watched something, I don't know.
Yeah.
And there are days when I pray that the Lord shows me what that is. But I remember there was one day my mom went into the grocery store and I was terrified and I locked all the doors and I laid down where your feet go. And people were passing by, as they do, walking by a car to go in and out of the store.
Right,
And I was
right.
terrified that someone was going to kidnap me, take me, do something that would harm me. And as I got older, I just felt like I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live in a space where everything that I desire to do is hindered because of a fear that is not even warranted. It's not like I've had trauma that might lead me to that, that I need to work through, at least not that I'm aware of. And I always knew I wanted to be a mom, and I didn't want to pass that on to my kids.
Yes.
I need them to be better than me,
Yes.
not worse than me,
Yes.
or not the same as me. And so I really worked to make sure that I was confronting my own fears in the way of, God, help me. I know you didn't give me the spirit of fear. I quote scripture
Right.
like it ain't nothing. Because I need it. I
Yes.
need that constant reminder. As an adult, I listen to worship music that reminds me that I do not need to be afraid. It doesn't mean it doesn't come back because we're human and we're faced with things every day. So it may come back, but then I'm like, nope, I'm not afraid. I don't have a reason to be afraid.
Yes.
And so that is how I confront it even now. When I feel like that thing up the back of your neck that's like, I don't feel okay. Why? Look around. What about this situation makes you feel afraid?
Yeah.
And is there anything to hold up to it? If there's not, then I need to let it go and just say, nope, God didn't give me the spirit of fear, power, love, and a sound mind.
That's good.
And that's where I just focus my attention.
That's really good. I didn't get that until I got older. And I realized that with generational curses and with trauma, childhood trauma, that I really needed those Bible scriptures and even leadership to actually say, like, hey, you're going through this and I can tell because you're kind of different within a moment. So that's really good. I love that. And another thing that you were saying as far as not having any childhood trauma to hinder you from even thinking about, like, how am I going to get through this fear? Do you know where those thoughts came from?
I don't. One thing I will say is from a very young age, I've always, looking back, I can't say in that moment, but looking back, I see that God deals with me prophetically. And a lot of that is through the things that I see. I'm a seer, so I see visions. I see bits and pieces of a full picture. And so I'm very easily affected by what I see. So if I see something in a movie, if I see something on the news, if I see something in a textbook or a reading book or a magazine or something, I'm very much affected by that in all kinds of ways, good, bad, scary. I don't watch scary movies. I can't because that's just, it sticks with me.
I would say it depends on how scary it is for me. in
And I
order to
mean,
watch it.
you know, even some movies that most people might say aren't scary to them, it's not that I'm afraid. That's not the factor. It's that when I see something, it imprints on my brain, and I will play it over and over and over. And so while, you know, I don't want to get it twisted, there has been enough childhood trauma in my life.
Yeah.
But nothing that would make me feel like I'm unsafe or, you know, that someone's going to take me. So I don't know where that came from, except that maybe I watched something
TV.
or saw something on the news. I mean, you know, the news can be handy, but at the same time, you
It's
know,
scary.
to a kid, it can be very scary if you know, hear of a child being abducted and don't know the situation behind it. Or, you know, you hear of all these different things, a child found in a river, and you think, oh my God, I could die in a river. Well, I mean, you could, but the likelihood is very small because this child, you know, tripped on a stone and that's just what happened.
Yes.
So I think for me, it was probably something that I saw or encountered in that regard that I didn't have all the information behind it, and so I just fill in the gaps. I still do that to this day, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, so I just filled in what my childish mind could fill in.
Yeah.
And from that, you know, you just create fears, which is an interesting concept because our brains are that intelligent that they can create things without us trying.
Do you have any action plans that you use to just conquer fears?
I think one of my biggest things, and I recommend this to anybody, is to have somebody you trust with those fears. That you can say, you know what, this is something that I deal with on a regular. Or this is something I've been dealing with for a long time. Because fears fester in quiet and in silence.
That's true.
You know, I just said your mind is an amazing organ. Well, it continues to breed and grow those things, and they become a part of who you are if you're not able to talk through it. So, you know, in my season right now, my mom and my husband are probably my biggest go-to people, my sounding boards.
Yes.
And so when I'm feeling like, okay, I heard a noise on the back porch and I'm freaking out. And my husband's like, did you look out the window? No, I didn't look out the window.
I'm
Who
scared.
does that? You know, and then
run
he
away.
walks me through making this rational, okay? So what's the likelihood that there's somebody in the back trying to get to you? Well, not very likely if I didn't hear the gate open. Or not very likely if this, if
Right,
that. Well, we have an alarm system, so if somebody did try to get in, the alarm would go off, right? Yes. You know, so then then that person can help talk you down.
That's good.
And I have my own just individual, if I can't talk to somebody, is I do worst case scenario. What is the worst thing that could happen if this is true? And then I work my way backwards because typically worst case scenario is not normal.
Right.
You know, when people tell me like, I can't do this. Well, why not? Does the world stop turning if you don't do it? Or if you do it? No. Does anybody die if you do this? No. Do you lose any standard of living if you do it? No. You know, and so you start to really hone in on, is this really a fear or is it just a hindrance? And then that helps you to dissipate those fears. And then then it's like, oh, so I was afraid of nothing?
Exactly.
The boogeyman?
Yes.
You know? And then when you lift up the sheets, there's nothing under there. You look in the closet, there's nothing there. It was the broom or it was the vacuum.
Right,
You know,
right.
You turn on a little light and you can see. So that has really been my thing when I feel like, oh my gosh, the whole world's gonna cave in because I don't know what this is. Oh no, it won't.
To say that your mom is my sounding board also. Your mom and my mother-in-law and a couple of my sisters, like, they are the ones that I always go to, even this, well, of course my husband, because he hear it more than anybody. It's very good that you said to reach out to somebody because some people go through things alone, and I am one of those people sometimes because I internalize every single thing in my life. So with that, I am like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Okay, go talk to somebody, and they can at least persuade you or help you and guide you in that way of even trying to figure out what to do. Not to really tell you like, oh, this is what you should do, but just guide you in that way. So,
and not to mention sometimes just knowing that you got somebody, if the fear never leaves, but knowing you're not alone in the fear.
yes.
Is helpful. You know, it takes the sting out of it. It's not as scary. It's not as daunting when you know, like, oh, I can look right here and there's so-and-so. going right through with me.
Exactly.
And I'm not by myself.
Exactly. And even if some people, they don't like to let their guards down because they're scared to trust. Because in some situations, I am very scared to trust people with some of the things that I share because I don't know if you're going to run and tell A, B, and C. But at the same time, not knowing that you're not alone in this. And even if there's somebody else that's going through the same thing and they can help you with it or y'all can get through it together, but just knowing that there's somebody is. How do you keep fear from controlling your life?
That is a wonderful question that I think I'm still learning how to accurately do that. I think part of it is having steps that you go through. So first is identifying that fear. What is it that I'm really afraid of? Because a lot of times it's like anything else. You treat a symptom and not the cause. So I'm afraid of public speaking. And am I really afraid of public speaking? I don't even know these people. I don't know. So what am I really afraid of? Well, I'm afraid that I'm going to be judged. That I'm not smart enough on what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yes.
So let's call it what it is. Let's be honest with ourselves and identify the true fear and not all the symptoms that kind of come with it.
Right.
I think another thing that I try to identify is how likely is that fear to come to pass. You think, like I was saying earlier, worst case scenario. If I get up here and I start talking, are people going to boo me off the stage? Not likely. If I get up here and I dance my heart out before the Lord, are people going to come up to me, girl, that was terrible? Like, no. Even if they think that.
I was going to say, have you ever had that?
No, but I've heard some people say some things about what I've done, a roundabout kind of way.
Yeah.
But typically, people aren't that bold to come to you and say to your face, like, that was horrible. And if they are, it's usually not as bad as you thought. They just need to make themselves feel better. That's
Right.
a whole other topic.
Right.
So, identifying that and then determining how likely it is to occur. And then I think being able to reaffirm who I am. I am a good mother. I am a good wife. I'm not perfect, so I'm not going to lie to myself. But I'm going to reaffirm what I know about myself. I work hard. I give it everything I've got. I encourage everybody I come across. And then that starts to lift me almost above that fear.
Just good.
So then that it can't hold me if I can build myself up high enough that I'm above it. Doesn't mean it goes away, but I'm not tied down by it.
Right. That's good. Do you feel like that even when the reoccurring fear happens or when you say that, like, okay, I'm this title, and I'm not perfect, like, do you feel like whatever fear you're going through in that moment affect your spiritual life?
Not as much anymore. There was definitely a season where fear kept me from doing anything. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It just kept me from even trying anything. And I think it held me back, but it also affected my relationship with God because then I didn't trust him to bring me out of that. I didn't trust him to conquer that fear. I didn't trust his word. I spoke it, but I didn't trust it. And I think there are some things that God honors just because you do it. So he honored the fact that I was quoting the scripture, but in order for me to get closer to him, I had to really believe that scripture. And I wasn't doing that. And so I got to a place where I told the Lord, I said, I trust you more than all these things. More than the money I make, more than the house I live in, more than the man I married and love, more than my kids, more than this, more than that. I had to really say it out loud so I could hear myself say it. I trust you more than these things. Because if I don't, you gave them all to me, so tomorrow they could all be gone.
Yes.
And that has helped me get to a place where in my spiritual walk, even when I feel those fears come, I can literally still feel calm and say, but God, I trust you. I don't know how it's going to work out. That's not my job. My job is to trust you. And if I trust you, then you're going to work it out. Now, I'm a planner by nature, so it doesn't mean I'm not going to try to come up with a plan, but I've learned to say, God, here's my plan, but I know yours is better, and I will always default to your plan.
Yes.
This is just me staying busy.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
This is me not letting, things get in my head. So I just make a plan. But that's not the plan we going with.
Yeah.
It's just doodling. In the scheme of life, that is a doodle. It is not a plan.
when God look at it and be like, okay, that ain't what I got for you.
Right. But oftentimes we make a plan thinking this is how it has to be because we think we know better than God does. And I was one of those people. I'm a planner. I got this. You could take care of the people who ain't got no homes. You could take care of the people in earthquake places and, war-torn countries and things like that. You can go to Haiti and help those people. Do that.
Yeah.
I got this. No, I don't. I ain't got nothing.
Yeah. That's so
I don't
true.
even have the day he gave me because he gave it to me.
If we only knew, like, everything that comes with keeping all of those burdens. I don't want it.
No, me either.
Don't want it.
Me either. So I just learned to really, you hear sometimes in church, it don't take all that. It does. But all that is different for every person.
Yes.
So I had to find what all that meant for me. All that meant saying, God, I trust you more than all these things. Here's my plan just so that I can feel busy. But at the end of the day, you got this and I don't.
Yes. You were saying this, but it's really hard to trust the process because we don't know the plan that God has. And we know our plans, but we don't know the plan that God has. So when we looking at our plan, A, B, and C, D, we ain't getting all that done. But in the back, Jesus is covering. It is so amazing, especially when you compare back where you were before you met Christ to this is where I am today in my Christian walk. So,
and even in your walk, because I got saved really early. That didn't mean a whole lot. I mean, thank God for saving me early. But I didn't know what I was saved from. And so I still made so many mistakes in my walk because I didn't even know what I was being saved from.
Yeah.
So even now at 34, almost 35, I'm not afraid to say my age.
Hey.
I can see just in the last 10, 15, 20 years what God has saved me from.
Yes.
And that takes it a whole nother level because then you have a greater appreciation. If I don't know that you saved me from the great white shark that was about to eat my legs off, then I'm like, why you take me out the water? That ain't right.
I was having fun.
Splashing around, getting my swim on. And then you're like, let me show you.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, thank you.
Yes.
I need my legs.
Yes.
I need all parts.
Yes.
So that when God can even give you a glimpse of what you've been saved from, it changes your whole perspective.
That's good.
It does.
And then you can trust it a little bit more.
Yes. Then you
A little
trust
bit more.
A whole lot more.
Yes.
Yep.
Baby steps, guys.
Yep. As long as you keep moving. That's all you got to do.
We were talking about reoccurring fears, and they always come back. And you talked about how you conquer once they come back. So on a daily basis, like, how does that look? This is something that I am dealing with now because stepping outside of my box and outside of my comfort zone, there are always things that will become a hindrance and block me from doing what God called me to do. So when those things come back, it's sometimes it's really hard for me to trust in myself. And I say, God, I trust you, but I don't trust myself in this process. When those recurring fears come back, how do you deal with it on a daily basis?
It's a lot of self-talk. I talk to myself a lot. I promise I'm not.
Oh, me too.
All the best people do. So
Look, I was going to say, look, I drive the bus, y'all, and I know when they look at that camera, they be like, she is crazy. I'm not. I'm bored, so I'm having conversations. I ain't got nobody else to talk to, so.
But I do a lot of self-talk because a lot of how we think and feel, how we operate starts in our brain, starts in how we think about things, how we perceive things. I try to be very honest. So I recently took a new position at my job. I work for a public charter school, and I've always worked directly with the students. But this year I decided to try my hand in finance, which I have worked in some finance previously. But I didn't really know what I was getting into. And I really, like the first month, I was like, I made the wrong decision. I do not know what I'm doing. This is not going to work. I just need to tell her, never mind. Tell my boss, start looking for somebody else. Like, I'll help train them the best I can with what I know, but this is just a terrible idea. And in the midst of that, like, conversation in my head, I could just hear the Lord say, why?
Yes.
And I was like, why? What? You see, I am stressed. I am snapping on everybody. I can't sleep. I can barely eat and get out the building for a lunch break. Like, what do you mean, why? I gave you 10 reasons why. And the Lord reminded me that he opened that door for me.
Yes.
And he said, if I open that door, don't you think I will take care of you while you're there? And it was like, honestly, no.
Yep.
If I'm being honest. And that's one thing that I really started doing was being honest with God. God, no, I don't know. I don't know that. I want to know that, but I don't know that. And I need you to show it to me. I don't need you to take this from me in order to show me, but show me how to take one step after the other, one step after the other. So I started setting boundaries and setting small goals. Okay, tomorrow I'm making a goals list. This is the things that I think I can get done in a day. If I can get them done, great. We'll build on that. It took me a good month to get 2 things done in a day. You know, then I started setting boundaries for my lunch break. I got to get out of this building. Got to get out of my seat. Got to get moving because this is important to me. It's important for me to show my kids how to be healthy. It's important for me to not make work my God. So I'm taking a lunch break.
That's good.
I'm not going to take it every day because I know me. I'm kind of a workaholic. So 3 days a week, I'm taking a lunch break. And I'm going to a class at the Y so that people are looking for me. Hey, we didn't see you on Monday.
Wait, let me just say, because I haven't been in a while, but when I was going, that was every single time, especially the ones that goes every single day, every week. And I'm just like, listen, I was struggling for like 2 weeks, so...
Get off my
But
back.
that holds you accountable.
And that's what I needed because working out ain't my thing. It will never be my thing. It'll be something that I attempt to keep healthy, but it's not. I'm not like a fitness guru. That ain't gonna be me.
I love food too much.
Right. I love sitting on my couch too much. So that was something I had to put myself uncomfortably in that position for people to ask me, where you been at? Like, oh, they noticed. Oh, I need to be here. So I started making small goals. So that's something that I do every day. I make a goals list. It's not a to-do list, and I'm very specific about that because to-do puts pressure on myself. That if it didn't get done, then I failed some kind of way. I failed this person, or I failed this situation, or I failed myself because I didn't get to do all these things. And life happens. Let me tell you, we all know that, and we say it, but it does. So I had to make a goals list because goals are things that can transfer from day to day.
Right.
I might think goals, and this could be a long-term goal that I won't even accomplish till March or April. So I keep it before me and I write it every single day, but I know it's long-term. So for me, writing down a goals list, I do it every day. I try to do it first thing in the morning. Sometimes it's on my phone and I'll transfer it. I'm a writer. I like to write.
Yes, I like to write. Pen and paper.
Reiterates what's in me. I use my phone a lot, but even if it's on my phone, I will go back and put it in my notebook so that I don't forget. And that's one thing that I do daily. Another thing that I've started doing daily is, and I did not make this up, so I don't want to take credit for it, but I journal every day and I write 10 things about the day that I'm grateful for at the end of the day. And I'm specific about the day. So, sometimes we get a little extra in ourselves and, I thank God for a new day. And yes, that's wonderful. Don't knock it. I am grateful for those things too, but I try to be specific. I'm grateful that my daughter walked up to me and looked me in my eyes and said, Mommy, I love you so much.
Oh.
That's the kind of stuff, because it's easy to gloss over the good things in the day when you're so focused on fear. Well, this didn't happen, and oh man, my boss is going to be mad, and oh, I didn't have dinner ready, and now my husband's looking at me sideways, and my kids are mad because something happened with the TV, or we didn't get enough TV time, or whatever. There's always going to be something that is shrouded in that fear that's going to raise its head and draw your attention.
That's good.
So you have to make yourself sit down. Last night was hard. Yesterday was a rough day, and I got to like number 5, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I only get 5. And I got ready to close it, and it was like, nope, you said 10.
Keep going. Ooh.
Okay, so what else? What other good things happened to me today? But I made it, and I got all 10. now I have something to look back on when I feel like this has been a hard day.
Yeah.
What are some other things I was grateful for in another hard day?
Yeah.
And I'm able to go back and look, oh, you know what? My car was running all day. I didn't have no problems in the snow. You know, like some of those things we take for granted, but if it stopped happening, we'd be super mad.
Yes, we would.
And that could even strike up fear. Oh my goodness, how am I going to get my kids where they need to go if my car's not running? Now I got to try to get up earlier and catch the bus and get to a bus station and all that. I mean, this is one less fear I've got because this is working for me. So those are probably the main things that I do are my goals list every day and my gratefulness every night because those keep me in check. Those are my boundaries that keep me in a good space.
That's good. You know, one thing I started to do, I started to put Post-it notes in my bedroom. Well, not in my bedroom, but in my second bedroom because that's the place where I spend the most time lately. But and I feel like that really helps. And I have a friend that used sticky notes, and she used sticky notes everywhere. She has them in a car. She has them at home. She has them at work. And when I first saw her do that, and I was just like, oh my gosh, because she used words of affirmation. She used this goal, like name each goal on each sticky note. And so she looks at it every single day. You can't help but like wherever you go, I'm going to look at this thing. But just finding different ways to actually, like you said, with the journaling and sticky notes, and there's so many, setting reminders of telling yourself that you set this goal today. What did you do it? Last week, I talked about as far as when the fear comes, it pulls me away from God. And I'm not praying how I'm supposed to be praying. I am not reading the Bible how I'm supposed to. And I fall off from doing those things. And so this, getting in the mindset of where God is taking me to is helping me to be consistent with doing things that I'm supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it. So I don't like change.
Nobody does. Anybody
Like
who says they lie.
They lie. Because it's a lot.
Yes.
It's a whole lot.
Because the people who say they like change, it's when they are in control of the change. And 99.999% of the time, we're not in control of the change. So we really don't like it because it's the unknown. It's not what we can predict.
Yeah.
But you're right. You know, when fear is controlling you, you don't stay close to God because your prayers are only about that fear. They're not about anything else.
Exactly.
You can't really take the word at face value because it's like, but what about this? So you just, it kind of becomes a black hole that sucks you in. So I definitely can understand that and see how that happens real easy to people. Even though we say, oh, that won't happen to me. Or, oh, I don't think I would do that. It's just easy for those things to cloud your vision and cloud your thinking when it comes to your relationship with God.
With all that you do, how do you take time for yourself?
So I get my nails did.
And they cute.
That is my thing, getting my nails done. I have no problems enlisting babysitters at all. And I'm willing to pay. So I have set some expectations for myself. So, you know, definitely I get my nails done. That's the thing I do. When I was pregnant, I took a bath at my mom's house because she had a big soaker tub. That was just once a month or once a week. She does. So those were the things that, like, I implemented for myself. For some people, it's getting their hair done. That's just time away. It's time to chat it up with your hairstylist, whatever, whoever else is in the salon. It's just a moment. Could I do my own nails? Yeah. Could I, you know, take the time to do it at home? I could, but in my house setting, I'm like, I really should be doing
this.
Ooh, really
you get distracted.
Yeah, and then I don't do it, or I'm like, oh, I'll do that tomorrow.
That's
and
true.
Tomorrow I fill it up with other laundry and all of this. And well, I can't fold laundry with wet nails, so I just won't do my nails today. You know, you'll always have something. So I've purposely done things that are outside of my home because then I have less distraction.
That's true.
You know, some people it's making things. They're crafty. They like to come up with things that they hand make. That is awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm not there, but that's great. So it's about finding what sparks joy in you as a person, and then setting aside time for that. I told my husband, I said, okay, now that I'm done having children, this is what I need to do for myself once a month. Now, if you had seen my nails last week, you would have said, girl, you need to do them every 2 weeks. That's probably true. But right now, this is what I can afford time and money-wise.
Yes.
Once a month.
Yes.
Well, there will come a time where I want to do it every 2 weeks. Now, it may not be consistent, but that's what I need in that moment. Like, I'm feeling the stress. I just need to go get my nails done. So I think it's about finding that thing that just makes you happy. You don't have to spend money to do it. But it's about creating that time in your space. And even my boys noticed. I came home and they're like, you got your nails done.
Oh.
Yes, I guess. Thank you. So whoever marries my sons, I'm grooming them. This is the thing. This is the thing. They're the first to notice. But they notice that I did something for myself.
Yes.
And I'm training my kids that way so that when you get to that place, you don't need somebody else to fill that void of doing things that make you happy, that really genuinely keep you going. We have self-care is like a catchphrase in this special term right now, but it's always been there.
It's always.
It's just been trying to find what brings you that joy that you can continue on a regular basis.
Yes.
And sometimes it is as simple as just sitting on the couch in silence.
See, I can't do that one.
Yeah.
Listen, I need noise. I was raised around a lot of people. And just me and Jared in this house is crazy because sometimes we are sitting in silence and we're not saying anything. And that just drives me crazy. I'm just like, turn the TV on. Turn the washing machine on. Turn something on. Because I can't. Listen. Lord, I think that's really good. That's really good because there are so many people that think that, oh, you have to do A right now. You have to do B right now. You have to do C right now. No. Calm your mind. Calm your mind and let it, however that looks, with calming your mind. Because when I'm driving the bus and I'm sitting in silence, it drives me crazy. I don't have no music. I don't want to talk to people. It drives me crazy. So I have to find different ways to actually get some noise going because if I'm not talking to myself or if I'm not singing out loud, don't nobody be on the bus when I'm singing out loud. But if I'm not singing out loud, then I'm just like, what time is it? Has there ever been a time for you as a mother to where you just wanted to just give up on this thing? Like say you have a project and you just wanted to give up on it, but you know that your kids is watching. So has there ever been a time to where you felt like you just wanted to just give up on a project?
Yeah. I to some degree pride myself in saying I don't feel like this often, but it has definitely happened in my life. I was pregnant with my third child, who is now 2.5, and I was experiencing terrible depression. I've probably only hit depression stage about 3 or 4 times in my whole life, but when it hits hard and heavy.
Yeah.
And I just broke down to my husband and I was like, I just can't do this. I can't be in this house. I can't be pregnant. I just can't. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to work. I don't want to be here. I don't want anybody to touch me. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Like I'm just feeling overwhelmed with everything that I have going on that I just want to just walk away from it all. And that was hard to even open my mouth and say, first of all. Let me start there. And my husband gave me that space, and I don't mean give me like I needed his permission, but we have a partnership.
Yeah.
And I said, I need to walk away. I need to get out of this house. And he said, well, where are you going so I know you're safe? I don't know. I'm just going to start driving.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a summer day. I had all the windows down. I didn't have any music on. I just, it felt like everything in the world was like an irritant to me. Music just felt like grating my nerves. And anybody talking to me, just nothing was helping. And I went, all over Muncie. I drove to like 5 different places. I got out at Minnetrista. I walked around by myself at night, and I was just like, God, I need some help.
Yes.
Because this is not the person I want to be. I'm a person with goals and dreams and plans.
Yeah.
I'm a person who's a go-getter and a doer. I don't just sit. And this feels like I am wasting away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like that for several days. I mean, it didn't just go away. But I did notice my kids noticed me being different. And my boys are like, Mom, do you need a hug?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't look happy,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And that hurt me more because I'd never wanted them to notice that in me. But it also was like God's way of sending me what I needed in that moment. They didn't ask a whole lot of questions like an adult would have. Well, did you try this? Well, how about you do this? I mean, we think we're being helpful, but sometimes that's more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any expectations. Well, where's my dinner at? How come you didn't do this for me? It was just, what can I do for you? Can I hug you? Can I just sit next to you? Can I just lay my head on you? And it was my knowing that my kids were watching me go through that phase that helped me want to climb out of it.
Yeah.
I didn't do it on my own, but it gave me that desire to even want to, because I could see, no, I don't want them to know this. I don't want them to be affected by this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to struggle with the same thing that I'm struggling with because they didn't see me do better.
Yes.
And
That's
so
good.
it really helped me want to climb out of that dark hole. It didn't happen overnight. It took a while. It took several months before I was really back to myself. But I needed them to see me at my best.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that we got to put on a front for our kids, because I don't believe in that whatsoever.
Yes.
But I think my kids were so young that even talking to them about depression, they couldn't grasp it.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to show them what it looked like to come out of that.
That's good.
And it was life-changing at that moment, because my kids I love my husband, but my kids are everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
They just are. God gave them to me for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and they grow me every day. And this was no exception.
That's good. Just to wrap up, are there any scriptures that you can think of that can help recurring fear, and especially reoccurring fears?
So my favorite scripture always has been for as long as I can remember is Psalm 27. And the very first verse says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?"
Mm-hmm.
The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? And it goes on through that entire chapter, which is not very long, but it goes on to explain not only why we shouldn't be afraid, but what we have on the other side of that fear.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a God who cares about us, that no matter, it even says, when my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. Well, not too many people have really experienced a father or mother forsake them.
Yes.
But what it's talking about is when the people closest to you are not quite up to par. They're not what you expected.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know somebody who dropped the ball. If it's even us.
Everybody has,
Right.
yeah.
So it's like, even in that, God is there, and he's surrounding you, and he's covering you, and he's taking you up. And so I absolutely, like, to this day, I've tried to say, like, oh, I'm going to find me a new favorite scripture. No, I come back to
Just
that one
that
every time. It's just in me. It's in my pores. Well, I will say one that is just very popular, that most people know. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And that's one I quoted earlier. But that is important because a lot of times fear causes so many underlying health issues and problems.
Yes.
That when you say that he's given us power, love, and a sound mind, I mean, having a sound mind is nothing to play around with.
No.
We all know of somebody, have seen somebody who is, experiencing mental health challenges. And sometimes that is from fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear has gripped them so bad that they're afraid to leave their house. They're afraid to interact with people. They're afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid to try something new. They're afraid to go anywhere.
Right.
I mean, fear is powerful if you let it be that powerful in your life. So I think those are some scriptures that are just very forefront of my brain because I quote them on a regular when I'm feeling it. When I'm feeling like, here it comes. Nope. This is what I have to combat that thing. And so I encourage people to develop their own, what is your go-to scripture
Yes.
for fear.
Yes.
And it can be those till you find a scripture that God may drop in your heart at a given season. You know, ain't no problem. It's all our word.
Yep. Hey,
It's not
it's
anybody,
coming
ain't
from
nobody
Bible.
got a monopoly on the scriptures. So, you know, quote that till you find what speaks to that situation, that then it becomes reoccurring for you.
Yeah.
To combat the fears that the enemy or just yourself have created.
In another scripture, Isaiah 41:13. Is that the one? Okay. For I am the Lord your God who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, do not fear, I will help you. And that is my new favorite one because it really shows me that I am not alone. It lets me know that no matter what I am going through, no matter how far from God I feel like I am, He is always right there. He's always right there and just waiting for us to kind of get back on track because He gives us that choice. And He's not a forceful God to say, you have to do this, you have to do that. Sometimes I feel like I need that, but He don't. But He doesn't.
Sometimes He'll send somebody to be forceful on His behalf.
Exactly.
But it's still a choice.
Yes,
You know?
it is.
Yeah, that's a good scripture.
Yeah. Well, Brittany, thank you so much for joining me and in this conversation. And I really hope to have you back again. To our listeners, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Girl Time Podcast. And on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell to receive notifications on all upcoming episodes. So until next time.
I just want dance like David dance.